Mantras of our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says, remaining steady in your effort and quiet and firm in our determination, we are sure to reach the goal. With my love and blessings, says our Divine Mother. Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo from the collective works of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, Volume 31, Book Letters on Yoga, Volume 4, page 367, topic The Transformation of the Physical, subtopic The Physical Sadhana. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says the physical sadhana is to bring down the higher light and power and peace and ananda into the body consciousness, to get rid of the inertia of the physical, the doubts, limitations, external tendency of the physical mind, defective energies of the vital physical nerves, and bringing in instead the true consciousness there, so that the physical may be a perfect instrument for the divine will.
Rien que toi, dans l'essence et dans la manifestation. Thou, everywhere and always, nothing but thou. The essence and in the manifestation.
Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the food and care for the body is only to get into a good condition. Afterwards, it would not be necessary to attend to such things. I understand, says our Lord. I understand that you have arrived at a prolonged lull or period of emptiness in your sadhana. This often happens, especially when one is thrown out into the physical and external consciousness. The nervous and physical parts then become prominent and seem to become the standard of the being. With that disappearance of the yoga consciousness and sensitiveness to small and outward things which you describe. A stage like this, however, may very well be an interval before a fresh progress. What you have to do is to insist on making time for meditation at any time of the day when you are at least likely to be disturbed, and through the meditation getting back to the touch with the divine. There may be some difficulty because the physical consciousness is uppermost, but a persistent aspiration will bring it back. When once again you feel the connection re-established between the inner being and the outer, call down the peace and light and power into the latter, so as to build up a basis for a constant consciousness in the most external mind and being, which will accompany you in work and action as much as in meditation and solitude. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, don't get disturbed, remain quiet and let the force work. It is the most physical consciousness of which you have become aware. It is like that in almost everyone. When one gets fully or exclusively into it, one feels it to be like that of an animal, either obscure or restless or inert and stupid, and in either condition not open to the divine. It is only by bringing the force and the higher consciousness into it that it can fundamentally alter. When these things show themselves, do not get upset by their emergence, but understand that they are there to be changed. Here as well, says our Lord, here as well, quiet is the first thing needed. To keep the consciousness quiet, not allow it to get agitated and in turmoil. Then, in the quiet, to call for the divine force to clear up this obscurity and change it. It is, of course, the physical consciousness that always came in with this ignorance, and the physical consciousness is stupid and obscure, even in men whose thinking minds are wise or at least intelligent. It is only by the divine light from above that it can be illumined. It is always in the peace and power which bring more and more that divine light that you must take refuge. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, at the mercy of the external sounds and external bodily sensations, no control to drop the ordinary consciousness, no control to drop the ordinary consciousness at will, the whole tendency of being away from yoga, all that is unmistakably applicable to the physical mind and physical consciousness when they isolate themselves, as it were, and take up the whole front, pushing the rest into the background. When a part of the being is brought forward to be worked upon for a change, this kind of all occupying emergence, the dominant activity of that part as if it alone existed, very usually happens. And unfortunately, it is always what has to be changed, the undesirable conditions, the difficulties of that part which rise first and obstinately hold the field and record. In the physical, it is inertia, obscurity, inability that come up, and the obstinacy of these things. The only thing to do in this unpleasant phase is to be more obstinate than the physical inertia and to persist in a fixed endeavor, steady persistency without any restless struggle to get a wide and permanent opening made even in this solid rock of obstruction. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it is just in the physical consciousness that it is difficult to keep the fire burning. The physical can easily follow a constant routine but not easily maintain a constant living endeavor. Nevertheless, it can after a time be made ready to do so. All help will be given to you. You have entirely put yourself out in the external physical consciousness, which is refusing to open itself on the plea of inability, and by saying that all spiritual and inner things are unreal, only what is outward is real. That is what it always does if you listen to it. But the plea of inability is untrue, and the other is also untrue. The inner, the spiritual, is perfectly true and real to you when you open yourself to it as real as the physical or outward. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, when you get the touch, concentrate on opening to it. Do not accept the opposite suggestions of the physical consciousness. The whole difficulty comes from your identifying yourself with your external physical consciousness, which is only a small outward part of yourself. You have to learn to live in the rest of your being, your real, your more inward, which is open to the truth. You will then feel your physical consciousness as something external which can be worked upon through the true consciousness and changed by the force. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, it is very good that all should have gone like that and the true consciousness affirmed its control in the physical. These things are indeed attacks intended to prevent the control being established in the physical being, as it were in the inner parts. Wherever the physical consciousness opens, the force can sweep out all that could trouble. Sometimes it takes a little time to overcome the resistance, but finally all disappears before it. Persevere quietly and let nothing disturb you. If the quietness and cheerfulness are not constant yet, that it is to be expected. It is always like that at first when there is the working in the physical consciousness and its obstruction. If you persevere, they will become more and more frequent and at last for a longer time until you have a basis of peace and happiness, and whatever disturbances come on the surface will no longer be able to penetrate or shake this basis or even cover it over, except perhaps for a moment. The constant changing of the mood is also common enough because the physical vital is being worked upon at the same time, and this changeability is a character of the physical vital nature. Let not that discourage you. As soon as the basis is more fixed, this will diminish and the vital become more and more settled and even. The physical consciousness has to become balanced, filled with the divine light and force from above, conscious and responsive. That cannot be done in a day. Go on steadily and dismiss both discouragement and impatience. No doubt, the physical is an obstinate obstacle, but it must be enlightened, persuaded, pressed even to change, but not oppressed or violently driven. People use violence with the mind, vital, body because they are in a hurry. But my own observation has always been that it leads to more reactions and hindrances and not to a genuinely sound advance. In page 379, talking about the body consciousness, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the sense of being only the body belongs to the physical consciousness, while the confusion came from the vital. The confusion must disappear because it makes a turmoil in the consciousness and stands in the way of the divine force acting on the surface. The obstacle of the body consciousness is tedious, but it does not prevent the force from growing and can be worn out by the action of the force in time. It is a question of the force, peace, light entering into the body and giving it the sense of not being only a body but a receptacle of a higher consciousness. It is indeed the body consciousness that is still offering difficulties, but when the restlessness and confusion come, you must immediately offer it up and call for the opening of the path that resists. In this way, it is possible to establish a condition. In which, as soon as the difficulty is there, the counteracting force also comes. Then no long continued difficulty will be possible. The flesh has a consciousness as well as the mind. All the consciousness is connected together. So if the mind is freed, there is no reason why there should be an effect on the physical also. Man is not a body alone. The body is only a small part of his being. One should not attach too much importance to the life of the body. The body is only an incident in the progress of the soul. The evolution of the soul is the objective of karmic existence. When one has realized the soul, knowledge and enlightenment come and all the problems are solved. But before that, one should try to get peace, calm, and light. The body is always the most difficult part of the being because it is obscure and much more than of any bad will in it, but it could respond more and more as the divine light grows. The body itself must become more conscious so that it will make the right movements and avoid the wrong ones. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, I mean by coming of the consciousness into the body, the higher consciousness. The consciousness that is always there in the body is tamasic and obscure, and the greater part of it is subconscient. If it opens, then there will be an increasing union with the higher consciousness, and it will be able to share the experiences and developments in the mind and vital. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says it depends on whether the body is in tune with the vital or not. The nature of the body is tamasic. It is the vital which makes it move and uses it as an instrument. If the vital is enlightened, then the divine force can act through it on the body. How the body receives the higher dynamism, depends on the condition of the body, or rather of the physical and the most material consciousness. In one condition it is tamasic, inert, unopened, and cannot bear or cannot receive or cannot contain the force. Another rajas predominates and tries to seize on the dynamism, but wastes and spills and loses it. In another, there is receptivity, harmony, balance, and the result is a harmonious action without strain or effort. I suppose the heat and thirst may be due to some struggle in the body, but not altogether physical. I think it must be some contrary pressure on the body which the body is trying to throw it off. I do not consider your condition of dissatisfaction and difficulties as inner but as outer. It is an outer mass of old moments pressing on the physical consciousness and trying to keep its place by memory and recurrent habit. The physical consciousness has to push it out more and more till it no longer felt as within it, but seen for what it really is, an outer nature of the ignorance which has usurped the consciousness and prevented the psychic being from manifesting. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says the physical troubles that belong to the constitution of the body are usually the last things to disappear. When the true consciousness fixes itself in the body as elsewhere, then they can be reduced and dispelled by the same process as that which removes the wrong habits of the mind and vital. No need to despise the physical being, it is a part of the intended manifestation. The body is meant to be an instrument of the divine and means of sadhana and a temple for the Divine Mother's presence. So it has to be purified, not despised and cast away. Without it, there can be no manifestation here. To care too much for the body is bad in sadhana, but to neglect it or overstrain is also bad, for it is necessary instrument and must be kept in a good condition, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo.